Which singer released the famous song God Bless the Child in 1942? The great answer is Billie Holiday. The first nuclear device was detonated in a test in 1945 under which code name? The great answer is Trinity. Who was the winner of the 1946 Nobel Prize in Literature? The great answer is Hermann Hesse. The Soviet Union signed a peace treaty to end the winter war with which country? The great answer is Finland. Winston Churchill became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom by succeeding. The great answer is Neville Chamberlain. Before 1940, the Kingdom of Thailand was known as The great answer is Siam. The People's Republic of China was officially proclaimed in The great answer is 1949. ABC started as a radio network and it was founded in The great answer is 1943. What was the real name of the famous American actor and singer Bing Crosby? The great answer is Harry Lillis. Who executed the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini in 1945? The great answer is Italian partition. Which of these popes was in office during World War II? Clement VI, Innocent V, or Pius? The great answer is Pius XII. Which of these great musicians was born in 1942? The great answer is Aretha Franklin. The Warsaw Uprising in 1944, led by police resistance, was a part of the The great answer is Operation Spartacus. Who was the author of the famous 1945 novella Animal Farm? The great answer is Ernest Hemingway. In what year was UNATO officially formed? The great answer is 1948. In what year were the Golden Globe Awards first introduced? 1943, 1945, 1948. The great answer is 1948. In 1948, which sports competition was founded at Daytona Beach? The great answer is NASCAR. Who was the final Solomon rulers of Ethiopia reinstated in 1942? The great answer is Haile Selassie. Which city was the host of the 1948 Summer Olympics? The great answer is London. When was Israel officially established as an independent nation? The great answer is 1946. On what date was the official surrender Japan in World War II signed? The great answer is September 2, 1945. Which of these baseball icons won many individual and teams awards in the 1940s? The great answer is Joey DiMaggio. Citizen Kane, the 1940s blockbuster, was both directed and starred by. The great answer is Orson Welles. What scientific theory was introduced for the first time in 1948? The great answer is Big Bang Theory. Laurence Olivier won the Best Actor award at the 1948 Oscars for playing. The great answer is Hamlet. On which archipelago was the 1942 Battles of Guadalcanal fought? The great answer is Solomon Island. Which of these companies started producing a sports car in 1947? The great answer is Ferrari. Which of these famous cartoons was made in 1940? The great answer is Tom and Jerry. Which notorious dictator ruled the Republic of Portugal during World War II? The great answer is Antonio Salazar. The Philippines gained independence escaping from which country in 1946? The great answer is the United States. What literacy area was the most dominant during the 1940s? The great answer is modernism. Which famous landmarks construction began in 1941 and was completed in 1943? The great answer is Pentagon. The Lascaux prehistoric cave painting discovered in 1941 are located in the great answer is France. Which movie was directed by Alfred Hitchcock was released in 1940? The great answer is Rebecca. What device was introduced in 1939 and made commercially available in the 1940s? The great answer is television. Which two South American countries sent troops to World War II? The great answer is Mexico and Brazil. When did Ho Chi Minh declare the independence of Vietnam from France? The great answer is 1945. Wilbur R. Franks, the man who invented G Suite in 1941, was from? The great answer is Canada. Who was the acting monarch of the United Kingdom during World War II? Edward VII. The great answer is George VI. The 1917 and 3 Mile Island nuclear accident occurred in which US state? The great answer is Pennsylvania. This American television show set in a fictional bar in Boston aired from 1980 to 1993. The great answer is Cheers. In the 1963 film Cleopatra, which actress played the role of Egyptian queen? The great answer is Elizabeth Taylor. The computer mouse was developed and popularized by who in the 1960s? The great answer is Douglas Engelbart. In the 1975, which Southeast Asian country unified under communist rule after the fall of Saigon? The great answer is Vietnam. In 1978, which American actress starred as Sandy Oslom in the musical film Grease? The great answer is Olivia Newton-John. Which country launched first satellite in 1975, becoming sixth nation enterprise? The great answer is India. In 1960, Madagascar gained independence from which European colonial power? The great answer is France. What is the name of the Rolling Stones' first album released in 1964? The great answer is the Rolling Stones. The Second Vatican Council in Rome was convened by which pope in 1962? The great answer is Pope John XXI. Which American musician known as the High Priestess of Soul in the 1960s? The great answer is Nina Simone. Thanks for playing this quiz. Drop your score in the comment.